Have you ever noticed that the moment someone tells you to do something, you suddenly lose all desire to actually do it? You could have been planning to clean the kitchen or send that email or take out the trash in the next 5 minutes. But the second someone else says, "Hey, you need to clean the kitchen," an invisible wall slams down inside your mind. The motivation evaporates instantly. It is replaced by a sudden intense feeling of resistance and a deep urge to do the exact opposite. Most people label this reaction as stubbornness. But what if this resistance is actually a biological defense mechanism protecting your autonomy? We live in a world that operates on instructions, rules, and expectations. We are constantly being directed, managed, and told what is best. For some people, a simple instruction feels helpful, but for a specific type of nervous system, an instruction feels like a threat. When you push back against being told what to do, society is quick to pathologize you. They call it oppositional difficult or arrogant. Teachers, bosses, and partners might assume that you simply have a problem with authority, or that you think you know better than everyone else. But if you look closely at what is happening internally, it has absolutely nothing to do with thinking you are superior. It has everything to do with how your brain interprets freedom. When someone demands your compliance, they are subtly taking away your choice. And for a deeply wired, highly autonomous person, the ability to choose is not just a preference. It is a fundamental psychological need. When that need is threatened, your nervous system does not politely disagree. It initiates an automatic full-body lockdown to prevent being controlled. You are not fighting against the task itself. The task is usually harmless. You are fighting against the invisible leash they just tried to attach. Your brain is sending an urgent signal that your agency is under attack, and the only way to survive is to refuse. In psychology, there is a very specific term for this automatic pushback. It is called psychological reactance, a concept studied for decades. Psychological reactance occurs when a person feels that their freedom to choose an action is being restricted, threatened, or entirely eliminated. When this happens, the brain enters a state of motivational arousal. Its primary goal is no longer to complete the task. The primary goal is to restore the specific freedom that was just threatened, usually by doing the exact opposite of what was demanded. This is why aggressive health campaigns or strict ultimatums often fail spectacularly. The harder someone pushes, the harder the brain pushes back. If a message is framed with controlling language words like must, should, or need to, the reactance circuit lights up immediately. It is not a logical, calculated decision. It is an immediate visceral reflex designed to re-establish your sovereignty over your own life. For those with a high baseline of reactance, even well-meaning advice can feel like an aggressive attempt to micromanage their existence. They are processing the world through a filter that constantly asks one single question: am I choosing this? Or is this being forced on me? And if the answer is that it feels forced, the internal circuit breaker flips, shutting down any possibility of cooperation. You can actually feel psychological reactance in your body before you even have a chance to form a conscious thought about it. It starts as a tightness in the chest. Your jaw might clench. A sudden wave of heat or irritation washes over your skin. The energy in the room completely shifts. A conversation that was perfectly fine a moment ago suddenly feels like a dangerous trap. Imagine the physical sensation of walking freely down a path and suddenly someone grabs your arm and tries to steer you. Your immediate instinct is not to see where they are taking you. Your instinct is to pull your arm away as fast as possible. That is exactly what a demand feels like to an autonomous nervous system. It is an emotional grab at the steering wheel. In that split second, the content of what they are saying becomes completely irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the delivery. You could completely agree with their suggestion in principle. But because they demanded it, you are now physically incapable of agreeing. This creates an incredibly frustrating paradox. You find yourself arguing against things you actually want just to prove you are not being controlled. The need for independence becomes so loud that it drowns out your own logic, leaving you exhausted and fundamentally misunderstood. This brings us to the crucial shadow side of this psychological wiring. What happens when this defense mechanism starts working against you? Reactance is a powerful shield against manipulation and control. But when it becomes your default reaction, the shield becomes incredibly heavy. You might find yourself self-sabotaging purely to maintain a sense of rebellion. You reject good opportunities just because someone else suggested them. You delay working on your own goals because the moment you put them on a schedule, they feel like an oppressive obligation. You start rebelling against your own rules. The very structure you need to succeed suddenly feels like a cage you have to break out of. This is when reactance stops protecting your freedom and actually starts limiting it. You are no longer making independent choices. If you automatically do the opposite of what is asked, you are still allowing the other person to dictate your behavior. True freedom is not just refusing to be controlled by others. True freedom is the ability to act in your own best interest. When you reject a good idea just to prove a point, you are essentially cutting off your own nose to spite your face. The goal is not to eliminate your autonomous drive. The goal is to learn how to drive the car rather than letting the reflex drive you. So how do you navigate the world when your brain is wired to instantly resist instructions? It starts with changing the internal framing. When someone gives you a demand, your brain hears "I have to." You need to consciously translate that into "I can choose to." Pause the automatic reaction for just 3 seconds. Acknowledge the physical feeling of resistance and remind yourself that the choice is still yours. Ask yourself, if this was my own idea, would I do it? If the answer is yes, then you can choose to proceed on your own terms. You also need to change how you communicate with yourself. Stop using words like must and should when planning your own day. Instead of saying "I have to finish this work," try saying "I am choosing to finish this so I can enjoy my evening." For the people in your life, you might need to explain this wiring to them. Ask them to offer options rather than ultimatums. A simple shift from "you need to do this" to "here is a suggestion, but it is completely up to you" changes everything. When the threat to your autonomy is removed, the defensive wall instantly dissolves. The resistance vanishes and collaboration becomes possible again. You don't need to be managed, directed, or controlled. You just need the space to arrive at the right decision entirely on your own. Maybe you are not difficult. Maybe you are not oppositional rebellious or carrying a permanent chip on your shoulder. Maybe your nervous system simply places an incredibly high value on freedom agency and the fundamental right to steer your own life. This intense drive for autonomy is actually a profound strength. It makes you a critical thinker, an independent creator, and incredibly resilient. You are the kind of person who will not be blindly led. You will always question the rules to see if they actually make sense. You can protect your freedom fiercely while still recognizing when someone is genuinely trying to help you move forward. Both can be completely true. You can be deeply wired for independence and still choose to accept guidance when it serves your ultimate goals. If you recognize this immediate resistance in yourself, or if you love someone who has this reaction, send this video to them. Let them know that you understand their need for freedom and that you are not trying to take the steering wheel away from them. Does your brain automatically push back when told what to do? Let us know how it feels in the comments below. We are building a community for people who are wired differently. If this felt like looking in a mirror, subscribe and stay with us.